you're all here. I'm Maarten. I was actually born in the Netherlands. I lived in Amsterdam for about 20 years. Started traveling. I worked for a while in the United States. Most of my clients are there. And I am currently living in Taipei. And I like it very much here, actually. My Mandarin is not that good, so I'm gonna stick with English if you don't mind. So I'm gonna talk about structured coding today in WordPress. Who uses WordPress here? You can see some hands here. So like three people. Okay, that's good. So actually. So are you all PHP developers, or like, yeah. Who works with PHP? Okay. This is a PHP meetup, so I was like, so I'm going to talk about how to code maintainable and reusable, understandable code. I had the sheets actually on my. I'll put them on my Twitter account later. So if you add me, you can just find them there. So why do we think about structure? Well, my clients always say, like, don't write spaghetti code, because you end up like this. You feel like this in the end of the day. Like, you see the code like a couple months later. You try to maintain it. You know, client asks, like, can you do this simple tweak? You know, look, I have no idea what I wrote before, so we don't want to have that. We want to feel comfortable. We'll be in control of our actual code. And actually know what we're doing when we're writing code. So let me just briefly discuss the topics that I wanted to talk about today. MVC. Who knows that term? There's somebody there. Okay, so a few guys. Okay, so it's actually model view controller, and I'll talk about it later on. So structure in WordPress, how is it actually structurized? How are we supposed to work with it? Especially when we talk about themes and plugins. What do they do? When do we use them? Hey guys, got some more guests there. And I'm going to talk about hooks and filters in specifically, which is going to be a little more in-depth coding. Shortcodes, and at the end maybe some questions or brief discussion, and see how we feel by then. Right. So who you guys are we just started like a couple minutes ago. So. Okay, so MVC. Only a couple folks in the room didn't know what it was. This is actually the official definition of it, and I'll try to explain what it means. So we have in object-oriented programming development, model view controller is the name of a methodology or design pattern for successfully and efficiently relating the user interface to the underlying data models. Well, it's a lot of words, but basically what it means is you separate the front end, you know, all the design stuff and CSS, HTML from the back end. That's basically what it means. And it's actually a bit old. It came actually from the Java world in the 90s. And people try to find a way to structure their code. And this is basically the leading model that is used in a lot of frameworks. For example, I'll go in depth a little more first. So it exists of three basic patterns. We have the model, we have the view, and the controller. Well, I'm not going to read it all. Like I said, the sheets are online. If you want to read it, just download them. The model is basically all the connections with the database. So all the code you write to to access your database, you know, updates, heavy backend controllers, heavy backend classes. The view is actually, you know, like I said, it's the front end of your website, of your web application. It's the buttons, it's the displays, CSS, and so forth. And the controllers are actually the connecting parts between the view and the models. So we like all the bigger frameworks that are out there. Like the next speaker will talk about Symfony. I don't know if is he already here or Symfony 2. Okay, that's okay. So you know the structure, right?
No.
Okay, yeah. Symfony is set up like that. PHP set up like that. There we go. Oh, actually missing a sheet. Let me show you guys real quick how that structure works in real life. For example, if I go to okay, this is actually some work I did. This is actually PHP. What you see right here is just an example of an application. It's a very simple website actually, but you see how it's structured in, you know, controller, model, view, and this is actually the whole application. So we have the view, and consists of all templates and stuff. Then there's the model, and the model has all the backend classes, PHP files. And there's the controller that connects them together. This is basically the complete app. Now all frameworks are set up like that, where you talk about Symfony or you talk about PHP. It's all like that. It's very structured. So the question is, how does that work in WordPress then? So WordPress doesn't have that. WordPress doesn't have any MVC structure. And this is mainly because WordPress has always been a CMS and not really a framework. Have you seen somebody agreeing with me here? You agree with me or?
Yeah, you do agree with you.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just a CMS but not a framework.
Okay. Well, I'm here to. I think you can use WordPress as a framework as well. It's not set up like that, I think.
Yeah, it's based on how you treat it. Yeah.
Right? Are you a WordPress developer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What else do you use?
No, just, you know, basic, like you treat it as a CMS instead of a framework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love treating it as a framework, and I think you can actually use it to build pretty complex applications. But it lacks the MVC structure because you know, it's a CMS. So nobody, when they built WordPress, nobody thought of it like, oh, this is going to be a framework for developers. You know, it's going to be more. It's going to be a web CMS. You know, people want to build simple websites with it and stuff. But it's already like 10 years old and it evolved over time. So people do use it for more complex applications now. So the big question is, how do we use it for complex applications then? Well, let me tell you how it's set up. We have the core, which is basically everything that controls the CMS. It's the user department. It's the roles of the users. It's the connection with the database. It's actually the real CMS, like create pages and stuff. For any of you that use WordPress, you probably know what I mean, what I'm talking about. Then there's plugins, and I'm going to talk about that a little more later and see how we use them. There's actual themes, and I actually wrote a blog about the difference between plugins and themes. I'm going to explain you guys later what the difference is, but if you want to have some more background information, I suggest you go to that blog and check out what my opinion is. Obviously, you don't have to agree with me. I'm not sure if my slides are in the right order here. let me actually show you a couple of examples of plugins and themes, and actually maybe a little more about the backend of WordPress. I have a small application set up here. If you guys have, by the way, if anybody have any questions, or if I'm going too fast, or I'm like, what is this guy talking about, just please ask me. It's totally fine. This is the WordPress structure, basically. For the guys that work with it, like, you would recognize it. And yeah, right. So we have the admin, the content, and includes. Admin is the backend of the WordPress CMS. It belongs to the core. We won't touch it. We never use it. Same goes for the includes directory. We never touch that. We don't work with it. What we do work with is the content directory. Let me see. So here's, like, you see here 2 directories, plugins and themes. Let me show you how this works. So whenever you add a theme, you can download it from WordPress.org, or you can create your own themes. But you're supposed to add it in that directory. I was going to set up a real quick web application here. I noticed that my database wasn't connected, so this is actually the setup of WordPress. Let me real quick do this. Database name. So whenever you set up a WordPress website, you go to this. You go to these steps. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You set up a database and you connect it to. You connect it through this this procedure. Let me see what the database name is. Meetup. You see this database is completely empty now. It's just there's nothing in there. WordPress is going to change that for us. And the password. All right. Right. Give it a title. Meetup. Username. The password. There we go. We can log in here. So if I show you this, there's nothing. What is that? Oh. Okay, so this is standard WordPress setup. It is actually the 2014 theme that's activated. It comes with WordPress, and well, you can use it to add pages and posts. Let's log into the backend. There we go. See, themes. Okay, so you see, this is actually the theme that comes with WordPress. It's active now. And what we can do, we can add extra themes and we can use them. For example, the Avada theme, I use that a lot. Just activate it. And there we go. Now we have the Avada theme. Now I'm going to talk about how we actually, how we supposed to work with WordPress if we want to change these things. That's basically where I'm going in my talk here. Because this is not too complex. Everybody can do this, You download the theme, there you go. But it gets more interesting if you say, like, okay, what if I want to change this? How am I supposed to do that? Now I'm going to talk about that. Let me show you the other part of WordPress, which is the plugin side. Let's see if I have a plugin here. There are actually a couple already set up. These are plugins, and we can activate them and use them for various various purposes. So when I told you earlier there's a big difference between themes and plugins, and I was referring to that blog I wrote. To be very short about that, if you think about themes, it's actually the core of your website. So you have all the design in there. You create the templates for the different pages that you're going to use. And for the plugins, it's more like I want to add extra features to my website, like small things, maybe maybe a newsletter sign up, or like small functional code functions. You can use those. You can add those with plugins actually. Just upload the plugin file and activate it here. The cool thing about that is if you have a very complex web application, you know, if you activate your theme, all your code will be active. And now you want to start debugging because, you know, maybe there's something not working properly in your theme. And the question is, how do you do that in a theme? Because, you know, if it consists of all the code, it's can be messy. The cool thing with plugins is, if you separate your code in different plugins, like say, I have a plugin for the newsletter sign up, I have a plugin for my user control, you can actually say, well, I don't know exactly where the bug is, but I'm just going to deactivate my plugins. And whenever my bug is gone, I know that's probably the last plugin I deactivated, and then I'm going to focus on that plugin for debugging. So, you know, you can actually focus on the problem instead of, like, you know, going through all your code and never being able to find where the actual problem is. And that's what I mean if you write spaghetti code, like I referred to earlier, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a pain to find to find the bug. Okay, so back to the structure. So now I showed you, okay, we have themes and plugins. You start building your application, you probably start with a theme, add some plugins, and there you go. But then the fun part starts. How do we edit our themes? How do we edit our plugins? Let's focus on the themes first. Let me go back to the code real quick here. So here's the Avada theme. You know, remember that's the one I just activated in WordPress with the white background, and it's a pretty extensive theme. It's created by one of the bigger firms that work with WordPress, and it has a lot of functionality. Now I'll probably be able to find my let's say I wanna edit the blank theme, which is basically a simple template, and I wanna add something to the header. Now I can say I go to the blank theme. There we go. This is the page. It's a pretty simple template, right? See, it gets the header upstairs, which is the WordPress header. Get header. Then if we go through the HTML, you see it will eventually get the content and then get the footer. Well, the content is actually the stuff you put in your page in the CMS. So you add a new page, then you apply this template to your page, it loads this. Now, if you want to say, let's say I want to show on every template, I want to show an additional image beyond, under the content. Now I can just say, well, let's just do it, you know, just add it here, do image, you know, classic HTML, just do image, and we add it here, right? I can do that. So, but what if the guys from Avada provide me with a new plugin, like an updated version? They say, dear user, we've updated our Avada theme. Here you go with a new package. Just download it and put it in your theme folder. And there's a new blank PHP file as well that they provide, because they actually decided to change something here. Now, what does that mean for my file? Nobody?
So you replace for the new file.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's just, I mean, it's it's pretty straightforward. I'll lose all my changes. So how to do that then? Well, there's an option in WordPress which say, well, you can create a child theme. I did that already. There we go. There's my child theme. And I can say, well, I just copy the blank file to my child theme, and you know, I'll override it. I'll put it here, and I'll start editing here. And WordPress actually reads the child theme first, and then the parent theme. So we'll pick up my blank file, and it will skip the blank file from Avada itself. Now this is pretty cool because my changes won't be overwritten if I do it like this. The only problem with this is if the blank functionality on the original one changes very drastically, I won't get those changes. So in this scenario, it won't be overwritten, but I will probably lose a lot of code that they provide. So it's an option that's, you know, it's possible to do it like this, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I'm going to tell you how you actually should do it. How you actually should you be able to use Avada's code and your own code and just combine it. Okay. Now I go to basically to the core of my my talk here, and this is a concept called hooks. Who has heard of hooks? Specifically for WordPress? Nobody? Have you worked with it?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, you have worked with it? Alright, okay. So what is that actually, hook? Okay. So basically a hook enables us to hook into parts of the WordPress page lifecycle to retrieve, insert, modify data, or they allow us to take certain actions behind the scenes. And it basically means there is this WordPress core going on, and it's you know, it's all the code that's out there. It's the Avada theme. It's just working, and then you're like, okay, at a certain point in that process of WordPress, I want to hook my code. And WordPress provides you with these options of doing that. So you basically don't care about what's going on there. You know, you just let it go. I'm not going to touch the WordPress core. I'm just like at point B in the process, just going to hook my function into there. And that's actually cool because we don't override any WordPress code, and my code doesn't get overridden if they update their code. So this is the way to combine your code. Let me show you how that works. There are actually two types of hooks, and I'll get back to that later on. There's action hooks and filters. Keep that in mind, I'll get back to that. Okay, so this is, don't be scared about this. This is actually the complete WordPress core. Let me see how I can simplify this. Basically on the left side you see where index.php starts. This is what happens if you open a random page in WordPress. It goes to index.php. Now it goes through all these steps, and I won't make it too complex. I'll skip the blog header, I'll skip the load, I'll skip the conf, skip the settings. Now this part is actually interesting. This part here. Because it works top down. So everything on top happens first. And then, you know, next step. You see here, this is functions.php child, and then you see functions.php parent. But before that, you see a do action. This basically means do action is a hook. So it runs the hook first. Then it goes to the child theme, which is all our custom code in our Avada child. And then it runs the parent. So what I'm trying to say with this schedule is, if you know how the flow in WordPress works, you can actually decide like, okay, if functions.php gets loaded there, and I want to run something before functions.php, can you just maybe hook it to the setup theme, or maybe hook it to when plugins loaded, and then actually control what's happening there without actually touching the schedule, the flow. Now, if you're interested in this, I mean, I suggest you download the sheet and look at it. It's pretty complicated, and when I saw it first time, I was like, okay, might need some time to understand what's going on here, but it kind of gives you a graphical overview. So before I go on, is everybody with me here? Am I going to? Is this too complex, or is it like everybody's like, we know all this? No? So good? Okay. Okay, let's talk about the type of hooks then. We have actions hooks, like I told you before, and actions hooks are the events. Okay, maybe I should just read literally. Actions are events in the WordPress page lifecycle when certain things have occurred, certain resources are loaded, certain facilities are available, and depending on how early the action has occurred, remember the schedule, the flow, some things have yet to load. It basically means there is a process running that goes from A to B, and an action is actually an event that I can put in between. I can say, I want to run it now. Filters then. So remember, there are two types of hooks. So filters are the functions that WordPress passes data through during certain points of the page lifecycle. They're primarily responsible for intercepting, managing, and returning data before rendering it to the browser or saving data from the browser to the database. There's a slight difference between action filters and, between actions and filters. If we talk about actions, we say, okay, this WordPress process that's going from A to B, I just want to hook something into there. I just want to say, if you're at B, can you please show my logo? Just, run that function for me. And a filter is actually slightly different. You'll say, if you're in the process of running your logo, can you actually not show your logo, but show my logo? So we basically filter the logo out. You filter their logo out, and then you hook yours in. So there's a slight difference. I'll give you some practical examples, and hopefully that make it more clear. Okay. So let's talk about the examples then. Let me show you an example of an action filter, action hook. Excuse me. Okay, so I set up a simple plugin here. Let's say we have a certain logo and we just want to hook it into the WordPress header. This is the WordPress header here. Show you real quick. I'm talking about the part where the Avada is. That's the WordPress header. Now we would say, like, I'm not going to change the Avada logo into the code of Avada, like for reasons we just talked about. I just want to add something to that thing. Now we create a simple plugin. Here it is. Do whatever you want, it says. That's what I actually wrote. Let's set up a simple function with just a line of text. I'll show you real quick here. I can actually do this. Function, show text. And then this is our function. Just gonna echo hello PHP developers. No. This is actually what I'm gonna do right now is actually to add the action. So this is the WordPress function that says add action, which is the way to call the hook. And And then we have a tag, and there's a function to add. The tag in this case I'm going to use is going to be WP score head, and I'm going to run show text. Okay, so there's actually a list of actions available on WordPress.org. I think there's about 500 or 600 different hooks that are already built in WordPress. So you can actually say, you know, for example, the WP head, it's just a fixed hook you can always use. It doesn't have to come with any theme, it's just built in the core. If you want to know what that is, I think it's on my slides. Let me check to be sure. Yeah. Okay. So this is the link actually to the to that list of hooks. I'll provide the sheets later, so you can actually go there and see if there's anything useful. Now let's go back to the example. We have a plugin, and then let's see if my plugin is actually active. I'm not sure why there's two here. Should that's not be right. We have one plugin active, and then there we go. See on the top, that's just my code, just the one I just added. So it's being added to the WordPress header. Let me show you real quick here. Oh, there's our header, and it's just being thrown in there. Now I know this is really straightforward, and probably nobody would ever do that because it looks like nobody would use this. But I'm just trying to show you how you could use it. You can actually say, hey, I want to add another image to my header, and use this function to do that. So whenever you go through more complex themes and plugins, you'll see that this is used all over the place, and there's actually pretty complex applications written that use this structure. And I'm actually sure that this pretty simple thing provides you with the option of building really complex applications. Because you never have to touch the core. Just say, I'm going to write my own stuff, I'm just going to write my own classes, my own functions, and I'm just going to put them into WordPress. So this is the actions part. Let me show you real quick how it works in the filters part then. So we did this. Let me show you, this is actually a more complex application. Shall we go through real quick here? There we go. Okay, so now this is a very complex header of one of my clients. It loads basically a pretty complex application. I'll show it to you. Oh, it's on here. Okay, well that's not going to work then. Let's imagine here. You see what's going on here? Okay. So, and this is actually the header of the application, like I said, and it loads the logo of the application. It does that right here. So, gets something. So this is the div where it gets loaded. Spend 5 here. Logo wrapper. Now assume that theme comes with a certain logo. It's just standard logo. It gets loaded there. And in this case, we'll say, I don't want to hook anything into the header. I just want to say, give me that logo, the one that's in the theme, and let me filter that one out and put my logo in. Let me show how you do that. So I wrote a function here. There we go. So you might recognize the function from the previous one. The only difference here is that I'm not just echoing something, like, you know, show it. I'm actually returning it. I'm filtering it out. So the only difference here is that you give a variable to the function, $sign content, and instead of echoing or just putting my code in there, I'm saying do a return on that line. And this div, you'll see right here, this is actually, it's slightly different from the one that I just showed you, because this one has an image, which is mine. You see the image source, it goes on here, I can show it. Now, this application is online and I don't have any Wi-Fi here, so I can't show it to you, but this means, give me the old logo, put mine in there. This is a filter.
There's actually a Wi-Fi connection.
Is there Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
The only thing here is that my screen is, my resolution is a bit messed up here. So, I think I'll, for anybody else to talk about it later, I can give you a short demo. So where were we? Real short here. Okay, so we just discussed the actions, the action hooks. We just discussed the filters. If you're interested in it, just you dive into it and you yes.
Why your file name has an underscore?
I'm sorry.
The function.php.
The why? Yeah, it's not necessary. I always do it because it's more clear to see that that it's a child team file.
Oh.
It's the only reason, because if you go to the, let me show you a different file here. Where's my meetup group? Actually, here I didn't do it. It's actually bad. So use the functions.php here in the parent theme. So it's actually good practice to say, well, whenever we create a child team, which I didn't do here, my bad. It's easy to recognize. And if you work with WordPress, you'll see that in almost every theme they'll do it. Same goes for the style.css. You should actually say, need an underscore for that. Because it's basically, it's not a copy of the parent theme, but it's very close related.
So that's the standard naming structure for the WordPress child theme.
Yeah, but it works without. You can just leave it out and still work.
So we don't have to do extra settings. It recognizes it.
Yes. So if you remember that, I'll show it to you. Let's show how that works. Let me go back to that awesome picture. Remember this one? So if you see if you go through the whole flow, you'll see here functions.php child. It loads that one first. So if it's there, it checks is there a child team, and then if it's there, it's gonna load the functions.php, and then it loads the parent. So they get loaded both, but the child team goes first.
So names should either underscore functions or functions, or you can.
You see it, they don't do it here. I always do it, and it works if you don't do it. That's if you don't add the underscore, it will work. It's just I always do it so I can recognize, like, oh wait, it's an underscore, so it's my code, and you'll see that a lot of developers do it. So it's one of these things that's like still in debate, like whether you should do it or not. Okay. Where were we? Real quick, this can actually be kind of useful. You can actually prioritize the hooks. So, for example, if you would say, I'm going to use the WP head twice. I'm going to use it first to add the logo, and then I'm going to use it again to add line of text. You can actually say, make sure you run the first one first, and then the second one, because I want to show the logo first and then the text, and not the other way around. Now this goes really. I will show you real quick how you do that. Going. You can actually say here, add an extra value and say 11. This is it. The higher the number, the more delay it's built into WordPress. So if you have two functions, one has number 10, the other one has number 50, 10 goes first and then 50. So this is how you can play around with prioritization. Alright, let's move on here. Oh. Yeah, remember that. You know, stay away from the core and stay away from the theme parent. Whatever you do, there's always a way to work around and not touch the core. Because if you start doing this, if you start working directly in the parent theme or start working directly in the core, and I know it's the easy way to do it. It can be a shortcut, just like, I just want to add it here, you know. I see somebody laughing there, so probably happens. You'll run into it later again, and you won't remember it, and you're like, oh, lost my changes. Sorry, client. I have to build again. Whatever. Don't do that. Just try to do it like this.
Everything.
Huh?
Everything.
Yes. Okay, now, okay, so we basically went through this already. It's like for reference, if you want to download the sheets, this is the official function, how you should add the action with the reference to WordPress.org. I just gave you the example of W-add, where we added the logo, the line of text. Okay, now, let's say you're actually the developer of the theme, and you say, well, I want to provide this theme to the world. I want to throw it out there. I'm going to put it on WordPress.org, and I want to be able to. I want to give my users the opportunity to use the hooks in my theme instead of them changing around, you know, making modifications in my theme. There's actually two. It's pretty simple actually. It's pretty straightforward. There's actually two things you have to do. You have to add the function anywhere in your theme. It doesn't matter as long as it's like being executed. You can give it a name. I just add hook add form top. You can change that to whatever you want. Let's say you can create your own WP head or your own WP footer, whatever you want. And then you just add this one, number 2, to the place where you actually want it to be run. So let's say you have a template, and you say, well, I want to give my users the opportunity to change or add something to the footer. Well, then you just add this one to your footer, and your users can actually say, add action, hook add form top, and do whatever they want. So if any of you guys is more interested in like building their own themes, this is something I recommend you to look at. Okay, so I'm going towards the end here. Just wanted to be real short about shortcuts. A shortcode is a simple set of functions for creating microcodes for use in post content. Basically, what does it mean? I wrote a certain function, and it does A or it does B. It doesn't really matter. And I want to be able to insert it directly into my page without even touching the code. I just go and do that through the CMS. I'll give you an example. I can say, let's actually do the same function. It doesn't matter. But now we turn this one, the WP head one, I'm going to turn that into a shortcode now. I'm going to call it show text. So it's the same function, But now we add the shortcode instead of an action. What does that mean? Well, what I can do with this is say, I'm just going to copy show text. And then I'm going to go to my website. And I'm going to add a new page. Well, it doesn't really matter actually. Just do a new post. Test post. This is what a regular user would do, right? Just create a post, blog post, can be anything. But now we say, well, I have a lot of text here, but I want to run a code, just a quick function. Well, what you can do is say bracket. Oh, I give it another name. Show text. Just put it in there. And publish. Few posts. Oh, there we go. Hello, PHP developers. So this way you can actually write functions and say, well, I only want to show it at a specific page, but I don't want to touch the code of that page. So let's just create the page the way we should do it, and just add the shortcode. And you can do, again, you can make very complex functions with this and just insert them into your pages.
What is go top?
Sorry?
It's before the text you write.
That's very sharp. Yes. And you mean I wrote the text first and then it shows the... let me see. I think it runs the shortcode first, and then the content. I think that's why.
Is there any way you can?
I think you should be able to do it. I can't look it up right here, but I think you can prioritize the shortcuts as well. It should be something like, there's stuff you can add here behind in the code. I think you can prioritize them by that. But that's a good question actually. I should look that up. I mean, if anybody knows the answer, like, I don't know. Right. Any questions? No questions? Who still thinks that WordPress is a CMS? Only a CMS? Okay. Thanks. That was it. Yeah. So yeah, this is my company actually. I didn't want to be too commercial. So I have I work at a web development company. I started that in 2012, and we basically work in the US and in Europe. Like I said, I'm based in Taipei myself, but we have developers working in Europe, mainly freelance developers. We are currently looking for WordPress developers. So if you're interested, or you know somebody that's interested in a position with the company, I'm happy to give them more information. And you could just shoot me an email or check out the website. There's actually an opening with a job description on there. So if you want to know more or refer somebody, so feel free. If you have any other questions, whatever, you can just drop me an email and I'll reply very fast. Most of the time, I hope. Thanks guys.